Through the chair, you're live on HCAM TV.
Matthew, we do have a quorum right now. We have 5 members.
Are we expecting? Sorry, I'm trying to get my interface up. I assume my audio is working right now.
Anybody that they were not attending, so I assume everyone is attending.
Okay, including Rob. Give him another minute and a half then.
And I'm going to keep my video off this meeting, if that's all right. But I will be around.
Sounds good.
I'm just single parenting with the kids tonight, so I've got to run around the house when I need to.
Super fun.
Yeah.
I also don't have the spiel to read at the beginning. Maybe it'd be good to have a link to that at some point.
I'll send that over right now. Hey, Lucy, I just got your email. Can you send that to Lori? Because she has it.
Is she included on the?
I'll forward it to her. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Lori does the minutes, so it's just best to send it to her. So she has them. So you can bring them up in the meeting too, but she's going to want the language to put into the minutes. So just copy her any emails.
Okay, sounds good.
And John, who's for the Wilson Street drainage? Is that going to be Carrie there, or what's the?
I have not heard from Carrie, so I hope she will be on, but I don't know. I've not confirmed that she will be here.
Okay. I'm just trying to check to see if I got the spiel.
I haven't sent it yet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. This is going to have the wrong people on it, but I will send it now.
I just pinged Terry and Robert just to see if they're going to be hopping on.
Okay. I'm waiting to get the thing I'm supposed to read if Rob's not here. So let's see.
Rob is just joining now.
There you go. So I'll have this for next time.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, you with us, or are you still getting settled?
I'm here. I was looking for John.
John is here. He said his video will be off because of single parenting obligations.
I'm here, Rob. I'm just going to be potentially running around. So I'll just keep my video off.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll turn on so you guys can see him here. Hi.
Hey, John. All right, I'm going to kick us off with the remote meeting script, and then we'll get into our agenda. All right. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public, as well as members of the public, members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting via virtual means. Participants may access this meeting through the remote meeting link as posted on the meeting agenda and through the town's online calendar. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by raising their hand or otherwise signaling their intent to speak. This meeting will be recorded. Please take care to mute your microphone unless you have been recognized by the chair. We will now confirm attendance of members. please respond with present if you're on the call. Elise Malowski. I do not see Elise. Lucia Lopez, I see.
Present.
Matthew Ronca.
Present.
Michael King. Parker Happ.
Present.
Jane Moran.
Present.
Karen Wills. And Vikasath Prati.
Present.
And Rob Benson is present. All right, let's go. Let's jump into our agenda. Wilson Street drainage road damage discussion. So we had this on our agenda a few days ago. I see Peter Bemis on the call. Is Karen Reed on the call, or director of DPW? I do not see her. Peter, would you like to give us an update?
Sure, and Vin Gately is also joining us this evening. I know that at the last meeting he wasn't able to be present, but he is this evening. We prepared a plan and Vin a cover letter, so why don't I let Vin start, and then I'll be happy to join in anytime we need it. Thank you.
Okay. Vin, you're on mute still.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, as Peter said, we've been working since we got a letter from DPW in May. I've been working with Peter to, look at what's going on down there in Wilson Street. We're, I think, very familiar with what's been happening there. And I think what we've tried to say in this letter and the plan that Peter prepared that goes along with this letter is we're prepared to work with the town to do whatever is our responsibility. And from going through this with Peter, I think we've tried to lay out in this letter and in Peter's plan just what we think our responsibility is down there on Wilson Street, which I think, Peter can go through the scope a little bit, but we're, like I said, we're willing to work with the town. We're willing to do what we're responsible for. But I think the tone of the letter we received from DPW was a bit harsh and was, I think, sort of insinuating that we should be responsible for areas that are uphill from where our responsibility starts. And I think a lot of this so-called damage on Wilson Street predates our project, which was approved in 2018. I'm not saying we haven't added to some of the damage down there, but we certainly are not the sole and only cause of the damage there. And we're, like I said, we're willing to work with the town. And I think what we've come up with is a reasonable a summary of the scope of work we think is our responsibility. And we've tried to put that on the plan that Peter Bemis has prepared. So.
All right, John, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, somehow acknowledge you can hear me. All right, so I'm not sure what we
Sorry.
can, John.
Yeah, sorry, I had my hands full. I can't hear you.
Okay, so we don't have Carrie Reed on the call, and we don't have the letter in our planning board materials, so I'm not sure.
You do have the letter. It's in the admin folder. I think it's dated June 26th, or I forget what the title is.
Oh, June 26, 2024.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm looking for some agreement from our DPW as the next step. And without Kerry here, I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah. So we sent a letter to Carrie last week. Pretty tight turnaround. So I don't know if she's had a chance to review it. I haven't been able to get in touch with her. So what I think the next step would be is to, between this meeting and the next meeting, have that conversation with Carrie, make sure everything that try and get the two sides to agree that that's the solution or whatever the solution will be. But I just don't know if she's had enough time to review it and formulate a response, and maybe that's why she's not here, or some other reason.
So then, and Peter, I think that's our next step. Our next step is to basically get Kerry Reed's input on your proposal here. Without her and her basically opinion on it, we're really at a standstill as a planning board. I feel. So I'm hopeful we can move this to the next planning board meeting, and in between now and then have gained alignment between Kerry Reed and you guys. That's what I'm looking to have happen.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one point, just so that there could be some information. I know you have a little bit of time on your agenda without, full download. I'd just like the board to have an appreciation of what we've prepared so that you can understand it better. And maybe we just use the small amount of time that it would take just to give you some input. If you'd like, if you don't want to, I'm fine with that.
No, I think more. I always think time willing, more information is better than less. So
Okay.
if you could give us any
Yeah, if you allow me to
context?
share screen at some point here, and then I could just say that, in Vin's letter, we outlined all of the drainage patterns as an overview, so the board would have them, because they were all part of the 2023 review that you did. So
Yep.
I didn't want that. I thought Director's Reed letter was kind of implying that something was different. Nothing is different. Everything is exactly as planned. And so that I think is important to understand, where are these drainage patterns and where does the trail stormwater actually enter Wilson Street? And to me, that was the important takeaway. And if I can share screen, then I'll show you on the plan as an overview, and then we can just leave it at that, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
John, if you could allow Peter to share his screen and
All set.
I think,
you.
yeah. All right. Thank you. So did that come up? You can see it?
it's up now.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is an overview plan, basically of just Wilson Street, but you can see some small portions of the Trails project. The intent here was to give you the specifics of what's happening along Wilson Street. And this is our Road E. So any of you folks who have been to the Trails, there is a left that is an emergency access road. So this allows the fire department, police department to have access back to Wilson Street, so they're not locked within the development on Weston Lane, which is a road that does come in as a T intersection with Legacy Farm Road North, and then this would give them the ability to come back. So this would, turning south here, would bring you back to the intersection with Legacy Farm Road North. And so from this point, we have no stormwater discharges all the way to basically this point. So what was being implied was somehow our stormwater was getting to Wilson Street. It doesn't enter Wilson Street. This is about a third of a mile from the intersection of Legacy Farm Road North to this position here. And I reference this position because in 2023, the town of Hopkinton reconstructed this culvert under Wilson Street. And so what we've looked at is there are several of these culverts that exist along Wilson Street that are further to the south that would allow the town, if they were doing improvements to Wilson Street, to discharge stormwater from the roadway. What's basically happening, however, is for this 1/3 of a mile of Wilson Street, the water is just running down the edge of the road, sometimes crossing the center line of the road. And so it's commingling with water that is leaving the Trails project. And why I say this is the first point is that originally in the original design plan that the town first approved for this, that was the Bowler design, there was supposed to be a swale along the edge of Wilson Street discharging what we call cross-country water water that's not coming into contact with any of the road surfaces or the buildings in the development. It is just basically that, cross-country. It's water that's already in the system being transferred out. The only new water would have been this catch basin that was added here in the design. So we kept that, but instead of that water just discharging as gutter flow, we didn't like that from the get-go, and we had created a basin here so that the water would at least be able to infiltrate, because the ground here is somewhat permeable, not highly permeable, but somewhat permeable. So in small storm events, up to like a couple of inches, this will infiltrate 100% of that storm. It doesn't discharge at all. When we get these higher intensity or flashy events, this can become overwhelmed. It can only hold so much water. And honestly, it's just cross-country water at that as well, with the exception of this small piece of Road E. So what it does is it affords some treatment of stormwater prior to release. And then when it does get released, it does enter the gutter flow of Wilson Street. And the gutter along Wilson Street from about this position down, as I've described to Mr. Gately, was inferior to begin with and has been exacerbated by the water coming from the Trails project. So
through the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just really quick.
Go ahead, Parker.
Peter, I'm having trouble understanding this. I just want to where are the two basins that were suggested as part of the fourth phase of the project?
Totally offline, Mr. Harp. That's what I'm getting at, is that those flows go east of this location. There are no stormwater flows from the Trails project that are actually entering any of this Wilson Street. And that's what I think you folks had as a takeaway when you got Director Reed's letter. That none of that water comes here. All that water is east, and it's going through the major box culvert that is there, other than a portion of it that is diverted back towards the treatment plant driveway, the water treatment plant driveway. And if you'll recall from those meetings, we actually eliminated that flow as well. And we're going to be discharging that to the east. So Peter, really, this is the first point where stormwater leaves the Trails and enters Wilson Street. And it's just minor flow.
And we just did some research in advance of this meeting. I'm trying to understand. So in a 2022 article, you were quoted as saying the soils on that part of the project are highly permeable, but what you're saying on this side of the property, they are not permeable. So I'm just trying to square this with
Sure.
What you're presenting.
Right. On the east side, they were highly permeable. This is the west side. This area we found was permeable, not highly permeable, but permeable. So that's why I was saying that to some extent, this stormwater that gets into this basin that we created, that there was an added limited impact development type feature, or low impact development type feature. This does have some positive effect. It allows stormwater to infiltrate. It's just that when the storms are high volume or high intensity, that's when it isn't big enough to do that. And it wasn't never intended to be. It was supposed to just pass through and be gutter flow to Wilson Street. So that's why we suggested starting here. And we put a roadway station on it so that we could define it anywhere east of this cross culvert. And then there's a match line to the right side of the sheet. This is cross-country drainage, again, that leaves trails. And this is another point where water comes in. So again, we would carry this forward, that this channel that's going to go along Wilson Street, which is shown here. So it's going to be 1 foot deep, 2 feet wide. And that would travel all the way along Wilson Street till you get to the box culvert, or the two cross culverts, excuse me, that are here at the water treatment plant driveway. The driveway's right here to the east of this crossing. So there's about 800 feet of channel that would be reconstructed along the edge of Wilson Street, which is the only position where water from the Trails enters Wilson Street, and it's only water that's cross-country water. All the water from our paved road surfaces, with the exception of this one catch basin, go into either basins 1, 2, or 3. That is not here. And there's a bioretention basin that's also at the end of Clubhouse Way. All the other areas are treated before discharge.
Through the chair, Robert, I might suggest that we do a site walk as part of this review. I mean, this looks great on a screen, but it's tough for me to conceptualize, and I'm trying to follow the letter that was presented to us or sent to us in addition to the explanation to Peter, but I'm just having trouble wrapping them around my head, and I might suggest we do a site visit and concurrent with whatever Carrie advises. Of course, I might be overstepping my grounds and suggesting such a thing, but food for thought.
I don't think that's a bad idea, Mr. Bemis or Mr. Gately. Would you be willing to meet us out there to give us kind of the
Sure.
lay of the land? I think it would be helpful. Probably
In 23, when we did those design changes, that's how we did it. We had a joint meeting with conservation and planning. I thought it was very effective. You got to see firsthand what we were describing and discussing. So I'd be glad to meet you anytime.
could I propose not this weekend because it's for a lot of people it's a long
Agreed.
holiday weekend, but what about availability for people on the planning board and yourself for July 13th?
I can be there.
I can do the 13th.
Through the chair, I can be
Yeah.
there also. Could I ask Peter if he could put a compass on the map, because he's referring to east side, west side, and it's hard to visualize on the map. Where
There's a north arrow on the plan. You'll see
is
it
it
on the
on the
left
index?
side of the sheet. Yes,
It's
ma'am.
so small I couldn't see it.
Yeah, sorry, but absolutely no. You need to know orientation for this to be understood. No question.
Thank you.
All right. How does 9 o'clock on the 9 a.m. sound on the 13th for people on the board and Peter, yourself?
I'll make it work for you.
That's perfect. Thank you.
I wouldn't be able to make that, but I could just try going on my own time to take a look.
Okay. Where
Same here, Rob. I'll not be able to make it, but I'll try to catch up with my own time.
I think it's going to be hard for summer weekends are very precious to a lot of
Yes.
people.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to do a second one in an evening. I'm game for that. I'd almost prefer it, but I understand that can be hard too.
We have done that in the past. We have done evening site walks. I don't know if that's better for anybody.
Rob, I'll be out of town that day, so hence I'll not be able to make it up.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do a weekend, a evening in the weekend, but would the 10th on the evening be better than the 13th in the morning?
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Trying to do math.
Yeah, it's better for me, but I'll do what has to happen here to make that work.
I
What
can't commit at this point.
time on the 10th would that be?
If we said 6:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever works for people.
Right.
I can do that.
Yeah, I could do that.
All right, let's shoot for 6 o'clock on July 10th.
And to meet, so we have the ability to meet at Road E. It would be the safest place for us all to be with our vehicles. So you would enter Weston Lane, and it's your first left, basically. There is a small left that's gravel. You could park there as well in case we have a lot of visitors. I'll probably park there, but the paved road surface is called Road E.
Road E, like the letter E?
Yeah, the letter E. I don't think we actually have a sign on it that says that, but I'll make it known that that's where you would turn. I'll probably put a little sign out or something there
All
so you
right.
know where to park.
Road E, July 10th, 6 p.m.
Right. And I can send John a small exhibit and try to get you some more information because you are looking at a segment of the project. So I will give you something that shows this as the overview so you'll know where all the drainage patterns are that were described in the letter. I'm
Okay.
sorry that wasn't part of the packet, but I can make that available to you for the 10th.
All right.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bemis. Thank you, Mr. Gately.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next agenda item. Approval not required, 15 Fenton Street and 28 Ash Street. Is the applicant Chatterjee Saha Halstead of it on the call, or someone talking for them?
If not, I can explain, Rob.
That would be great.
Hold up. All right. Is that clear for everybody?
Yes.
Yes. I'll zoom in. So it's when you look at it, but if you want to just look over here at this locus map, you can see what currently is. It's a little wonky, right? So here's one property, and here's another one. And what this plan is proposing to do is to just change the lot lines a little bit. So lot 2 is going to go with lot 1, and that's going to be part of lot 5. And then parcel 2 and lot 4 are going to be lot 4A. So it's kind of tough to see the boundaries, but they're basically just swapping land. So the original boundaries are, if I can follow it correctly, here, down to here, and up to back to the beginning. So this parcel is outside of this original and over here. So they're taking this and moving it over here. And they're taking this, which was part of, this is still part of this, and moving it over there. And then taking this parcel 1 and moving it over to here. So they're just kind of doing a land swap. They're not creating any real new lots. They're keeping 2 of the same lots, just changing the property lines. It's effectively really swapping this piece with this piece. That's the proposal.
Got it.
Does anyone on the board have any questions? I think John would be our the person that could help answer if there's any questions.
Through the chair.
Was that you, Lucia?
Yes. So why are there so many lot numbers on there?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of how they need to label it so that, ironically, everything is clear. So generally the way, and I don't know if this is a defined term, but generally what's accepted in the practice is a parcel is a piece of land that may or may not be buildable to zoning conformance. Lots are generally parcels of land that meet zoning and therefore are buildable. So when you have a parcel and you have a lot, they're 2 technically separate things. So like this is a parcel 2 and a parcel 1, and those are too small to be actual lots. So they're essentially labeled as non-buildable, but they're going to be conveyed over to another lot, absorbed as part of that lot, and then become buildable land as part of that lot. So all of the lines are very confusing because it's got to show the existing property lines, the proposed property lines, mark the parcels versus the lots and which ones are going to be combined with what. And then they've got the buildings on there. They've got the boundaries. They've got some utilities, driveways. So all of those lines on there can get confusing when you see them all together. But if you kind of just really look at it and hone in and start to learn how to read plans, because it is kind of a different language, you can generally see what's going on. So that's why there's a lot of different lines and different parcels and different lots. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. So it's 2 lots then, essentially. It's like 2 properties.
It's 2 properties. It's currently 2 properties. It's gonna remain 2 properties. They're just swapping some land, so the shape of the properties will be slightly different in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Through the chair, I believe there's also, so I toured this house when it was up for sale in 2020. Didn't get it, but really beautiful house. I believe there are some existing nuance to like easements that have to do with like past utilities as well. Like this plan might address some of those kind of odd functions. I don't know, John, you could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it kind of makes the properties a little bit cleaner. But I could be totally wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing it this way, but generally, certain things like this where you're just doing a land swap is because maybe somebody had built their shed too close to the property line, or it was over the property line. So now they're just trying to buy some land to make their lot conforming and not encroach on their neighbor's property, those types of things. So there may be easements, there may be property line disputes, there may be other features that require changing the lot line so that those things are on entirely the property that they should be on. It doesn't matter realistically. Planning board's decision is just to see if this is a subdivision or not. And to me, it does not appear to be a subdivision. So that would be recommendation.
Are there any more questions? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion that the planning board endorse the approval not required plan for 15 Fenton Street and 28 Ash Street.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I'm going to go through the roll call here. Elise Mialowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King. I think I saw him. Yeah.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, Rob, I just logged in, so I missed like most of that. So I'm not sure if I can vote on it or not.
You can abstain if you don't want. It's up to you.
I'll abstain.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran.
Yes.
I don't think Karen is on. Vikasath Prati
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. All right, moving on to the meeting minutes. So minutes for June 17th, 2024. Is there any feedback or questions or concerns?
Through the chair, I did send John an addition. I can try to pull it up for a second. So it's on the discussion regarding affordable housing with the two properties
Okay.
that we talked about. So I can read what I sent. It's 2 sentences. It's a little long, but so I'm suggesting adding Ms. Lopez mentioned the need to consider that those two properties are the bulk of the town's affordable housing numbers, and we need to ensure we remain above 10% affordable units to prevent potential 40B developments. Mr. Gelsich commented that those two properties were developed such that all units are included in the town's subsidized housing inventory, and redeveloping them under the new requirements would result in a large reduction to those numbers.
Yeah, so I remember that conversation, and we all agreed we didn't want to lose affordable housing units as part of creating a zoning overlay district. So does that? I agree with it. I don't know about anyone else's opinion on the board.
I am glad that Lucia added those, made that amendment. I noticed that was missing as well, but didn't do as good job capturing it.
Lori, do you have the comments that Lucia provided?
Yeah, she sent it to me by email, so I'm going to add that in the affordable housing part.
Okay, so if there's no other comment, is there any other comments before we move on? All right, I'd like to. Go ahead, Parker.
Yeah, I had one, which was Mr. had commented that they need to ask zoning advisory committee for key considerations for paper compliance would be a plan alternative to the one put forth. I think the spirit of what I was trying to say in that was that we consider what Lucia was saying prior to that comment, and that it would have minimal impact to not reduce affordable housing if we targeted Windsor and Legacy Farms as part of that development. So I don't know if we can doubly amend, but I was just trying to echo what she was saying, and I wasn't trying to say that there should be any new considerations, just that what she was saying in the context of her statement should be taken as a key consideration for paper compliance, and that if there was an alternative, it would have minimal community impact on affordable housing, not community impact writ large. I don't know what has to be changed to.
Could we add some? Could we add something like Mr. Happ echoed Lucia's sentiment to not impact affordable housing
Yes.
inventory in town?
That is great, because that's exactly what I don't want to see happen, and I believe in line with what Lucia was saying, because I don't think there's a land that we can have. What does minimal community impact mean? But yeah, I think that's a good edit, Rob.
Lori, did you capture that?
I do have that. Thank you.
All right. So with Lucia's proposed edits and the additional edit of Mr. Happ echoing Lucia's comments about maintaining our affordable housing inventory, not impacting it, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for June 17th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Awesome. All right, roll call vote. Elise Malowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. All right, so we're going to move on to the public hearing for 0 East Main Street, the Open Play Pickleball and Paddle Club. Yevgeny and Tony are on the call. So one of the things at the end of there was basically two things at the end of the last call is we just wanted to make sure there was alignment on any stormwater management concerns, and we wanted to review the sound mitigation write-up that was PSM Consulting did. We didn't have that prior to the end of the with enough time, or we actually hadn't seen it before the meeting. So I'm hoping everybody on the board had a chance to see that. But let me start with Tony. I think the way we ended the last time, basically you had gained alignment on pretty much all of the stormwater management plan, stormwater management concerns.
Correct. There were a few minor outstanding items that could be reasonably conditioned for submission prior to either a condition of approval or pre-construction condition. I issued a new memo today. There was some additional information that came in. There was a letter from Civil Design Group requesting a 400 square foot shed to be added to the parcel. They provided additional stormwater calcs showing that it does not change the curve number by adding a 400 square foot shed. There's no increase in flooding as a result of that, and there's generally no impacts to the stormwater design. I reviewed their calcs and agree with their assessment. Then we received an email from Thomas Poria from the Hopkinton Fire Department signing off on the fire apparatus swept path analysis, showing that the Hopkinton largest apparatus can navigate the site and back out. And then they provided us the updated fire truck access plan as well. So we were able to review those items, and to try and make things concise, I could go over the outstanding items, but I did send a review out today that just kind of highlighted those conditions in red font. It was down to maybe 10 or 12 recommended conditions.
I didn't have a chance to see any
All right,
updated
so I'll go through it.
documents today.
I'll go through it real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, John, could we give Tony? Do you have a slide to show or the?
So I have the letter itself because
Yeah,
it's
that'd
very
be
minor.
great.
So as I said, outstanding items are in red. A few pages before we get to one. So this is, if you recall, the limit of erosion control was 47 feet away from the property line, and the zoning requires a 50-foot natural buffer, but the limit of the actual work was 50 feet away. But just to limit the possibility of a contractor going out into that 50 foot, they're going to tighten up the erosion control on the final plan. So just conditioning that as part of the approval that they get revised plans showing that there's 50 feet, which is not really a big issue for them to do. Next one was they were going to make one of the ADA spaces, one of the electric vehicle spaces ADA compliant. And Evgeny actually sent a sketch over. They're going to move the EV spaces right up against the building. So they will be, and all those spaces are handicap accessible. So that will work. Just showing the existing tree line to remain on the grading and drainage plan, just for the contractor, again, just so they don't clear cut. It's on the landscape plan. It's labeled on the landscape plan. Just, the landscape plan is kind of the last thing that a contractor would look at. They're going to have the grading and drainage plan out early on as they're doing tree clearing. There's some easements that they require to tie into the utilities. Again, before they start construction, they should submit a copy of that to the planning office just so you have it. The sightline discussion for just showing that the sign is outside of the sightline, adding that to the plan as a condition, or moving the sign if the sightline does interfere with it. Light fixture height, they did go to 12 feet, but just adding that to the final plan set. They stated they are using lighting controls, adding a note or adding a condition that the lighting controls be used. They did state that they're providing, the Pad L courts have integrated lighting inside the courts. So again, just requiring that the lighting be placed on those courts and they have no spillover onto property line, beyond the property lines, which it shouldn't. I mean, they're in the center of the site. They did indicate where the mechanical equipment would go. There is a pad. It's just not labeled for mechanical equipment, adding a label to that. Again, these are pretty minor points. The Cape Cod berm detail, we discussed that with them. They are using a 4-inch Cape Cod berm. It was just kind of an error in the detail. That is the standard. Just for clarity for construction, I believe there's one catch basin that requires a flat top as opposed to an eccentric cone top. So just calling that out on the plan. Again, these are more for the contractor. It's not affecting any of their site plan actual conditions. Some spot grades, they have an area where they want the water to kind of break as the driveway transitions from a crown to a super elevated section. Just providing some spot grades again for the contractor so they don't miss that interpretation. So they're not using the precast curb detail, or precast curb, so they should just remove that from the plans just to avoid confusion. Again, these are all kind of construction issues. So getting the DEP documentation on the groundwater discharge permit should be conditioned, and they're working through that process now. Again, for the setback from the infiltration to the DEP to the soil absorption system, which is a part of their approval. So again, just getting the approval submitted before they do any construction. They they've committed to relocating the sewer service, so there's 10 feet of separation between the sewer and the water in the area of concern. And they've kind of provided some sketches that show that it's possible. They just haven't updated the plans. Showing the fire department connection. It is in the utility room, but again, just for compliance, because the fire department connection is supposed to be within 100 feet of a hydrant on the same side of the road. And then another easement for soil manhole installation at the south property. Again, I believe they're under the same ownership currently, so just when they convey the property out, they'll have to grant an easement and submit it. I think sketch showing the BMP locations just for future maintenance, ease of maintenance. The illicit discharge statement, just providing a signed statement once they have the ownership entity set up. Let's see. So they're supposed to provide the construction control measures. So they said they would provide that for just a kind of sequencing when they start construction. Again, this was total areas for construction disturbance and construction sequence. So it's kind of a repetitive condition, and they've agreed to do that. And those can all be done at kind of a pre-con meeting, just kind of discuss how they're going to handle stormwater as they're building it and where they're going to locate it. This one is the system map showing the stormwater devices. So it's kind of redundant. This is the local regulations, which mimic the state in several areas. And then there's some construction notes that are required to be on the plans. They said that they'll add those as a condition of approval. And the 400 square foot shed, just conditioning that the revised plans depict the structure and the location with setbacks. Just they shown a general area. It should comply to zoning where it is. I mean, it's swimming out there, but just to kind of cover the board that something submitted that shows that it does comply with the setbacks. And those were the areas that were outstanding. I think they can be addressed pretty easily. And I know they're going through conservation right now. So I think their intent is to issue one final plan set after they get their conservation approval and wrap everything up as a construction set.
Okay, there was several things there. I'd like to open up to the board to if there's any questions. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thanks, Rob. Two things. Let's try to keep track of the dates here. So these are all dated as the 14th, but the red lines were new as of the first letter, right? I know the 14th letter, John had copied a lot of conditions into our block, but all the new things, I just want to confirm, aren't reflected in the meeting.
So the only condition that is new for July 1st was the 400 square foot shed. The rest I just highlighted just so you had them kind of called out and you didn't have to read through the whole letter again. so anything outstanding from the last one, I just highlighted in red.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out exactly what had changed between the two. And the other thing, you mentioned the EVSE spots being ADA compliant. I just want to confirm that they're not going to be mandate a sticker, right? It's just going to be accessible, but they're not going to be like reserved handicap spots. Those are separate.
So one of them will be an actual reserved handicap spot, but not all of them. So the way the ADA kind of looks at it is, it's gone back and forth, but my current understanding is that is considered a parking facility. So each facility has to have an ADA compliant spot. It's kind of like if you had an interior parking lot and an exterior parking lot, the interior lot has to have ADA spaces in the exterior.
Sounds great. I just want to make sure that suddenly not all 6 are now reserved.
Yeah, no, that's not that, but they are relocating all 6 next to the building, which from a construction standpoint makes sense. It's closer to the panel so they can wire it easier.
Shorter runs. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Lucia.
Going off of Matt's question, is the shed on the conditions that will be read, was that updated, seeing as that's the only thing that's changed between the last meeting and this one?
Through the chair, they are not. Everything else should be captured, and I apologize. Probably should have sent it to Tony to check and make sure that I got everything, but I went through his letter and I added stuff in. So everything should be captured except for the shed part.
For the chair?
Was that you, Vic? I couldn't. Oh, it was Yevgeny? Go
Yes. So there were a few things that were raised at the last meeting that I would like to address. Actually, that haven't been discussed so far. Like so far, whatever Tony read, we are addressing, and it's in the process. Like there are no like any kind of issues with those items. Like it's just the process for us to complete the plans. But there were a few things that I would like to discuss.
Okay.
So you mentioned that during the walkthrough, you noticed that some screening was missing for potentially from headlights for some abiding neighbors on the south end. So I stopped by to talk to those neighbors, and actually it's a duplex, so there are two families. And I introduced myself, explained what I was doing, asked if they had any challenges. I left actually a letter with them with my contact information. So in case they would have questions in the future, they would have a way to reach out to me. They didn't have any questions, and they were actually kind of interested in the project and supporting it as far as I could tell. That being said, I talked to my site engineer and landscape designer, and we've decided that the best solution is to plant a row of 10 evergreens to screen from the headlights. I would love to share a screen if I can to show what I mean, because there are a few things that I would like to point out on the drawing. Would that be okay?
Yeah, John, can you give Evgeny ability to present?
Should be able to. I don't think I've taken it away.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me know if you see it.
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, so here is this. Do you see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the row of those evergreens. So they will screen from headlines going this way, and also from this arm of the parking lot as they are turning here. Okay, so this should be the other comment. Any questions about this one?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Another comment I remember that was about the trash, the garbage bin, the dumpster. I forgot the word. That it was in a proximity to the same actually by a neighbor. So I talked to my site engineer, and we've decided that the best place for it is actually on the opposite side then, so it's further away, and there is no abiding neighbor here, like they're like somewhere here, right? So it's further away from the retirement community, it's further away from that neighbor. So that is something that I wanted to show, that kind of we noted the comment and kind of we've made the change, the appropriate change. Any questions about this one? Okay.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
Okay. So
go ahead.
So over here, there was a row of 6 EV spots, and we've relocated them right here. So one of these spots was already ADA spot, and 5 of these spots were regular spots, and that's how it's going to stay. But all of them are going to be EV spots. So there is no change really in terms of the design of the parking lot for those EV spots. It's just relocation of them here. Any questions about this one?
Okay. Not for me. Anyone on the board?
Okay, moving on. Here's the location of this shed. So it's inside of the open space where the padel courts are, and it's inside of the 12-foot fence with the sound mitigation blanket. So it's not going to be even visible from outside. It's completely internal. And the reason why I need it is because these padel courts, they come with spare parts, specifically with spare glass panels, which are like 6 by 10 feet. And I realized that with a bunch of these panels that I need to store somewhere, and I don't have a space inside. Also, there is space here for like social activities in summer, but in winter, I would like to store like summer furniture or maybe cornhole pieces like somewhere. So this shed would be used this way. Okay.
Okay.
And the next thing that I would like to do, which was not on the original plan, on the original plan, I have U-shaped 12-foot fence. I realized that I might want to secure it. So when the club is not operating, we could lock this space from vandalism or like from people just coming and playing without, paying for the courts. So we are proposing to extend the fence so it's all around, and there's going to be 3 doors to access the walkways. Okay.
Okay.
There were a couple of points that that we heard from Design Review Board, and a couple of suggestions that I would like to bring here because I don't think they have been discussed yet. So they recommended to plant a couple additional trees, 2 trees on this side for screening. So we've added them. And they suggest a couple of trees on this side as well. I talked to my landscaping architect, and he said that we don't have enough space for large trees, but we'll plant smaller evergreens with shrubs underneath. So this is kind of what in green what we're proposing, that what we're planning to do as an additional greenery. Okay. There was an interesting actually conversation with the Design Review Board about murals on the building. So we presented a mural like right here, right? And something like, actually I can show maybe what it's gonna look like. Let me stop sharing this and share a different view. Let me know when you see it.
We can see it.
Okay. All right. So you see the mural on the left-hand side? And they suggested to have a mural on this side and on the opposite side of the building. Like they like the idea, and on the east side of the building facing the retirement community. And I think it's a great idea. Like I love the idea of turning this, quite plain building into an art piece, right? So it's quite appealing to me. But what I also noticed is that I have 3 large trees here that were planted here, that were put here conceptually to screen that building. So right now, I'm trying to figure out which way to go, to plant trees to screen the building, or to open it up and make those beautiful murals. But ideally, I would like to do one of those, because with the trees, the murals are not going to be visible. And I wanted to ask the board's opinion, whether you prefer one way or the other, whether it's my choice, like how. So this is where I would like your feedback.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Jane.
I personally like what you have here, a combination of both, maybe offsetting one with the other. Just a thought.
Thank you, Jane.
I tend to agree that that would be a big, very big building with no
Vegetation.
no greenery in front of it. I think it needs to have some aspect of trees. Otherwise, it just looks like, even with the mural, it very much looks like a warehouse. I think the trees make it a lot more fit into the surroundings, because there's a lot of trees all around the property edges and just there in general. Anyone else have any comments?
So, through the chair, I did at Evgeny's request at the last meeting and John's, I looked at the sign bylaw to see if the mural would be considered a sign. So the sign bylaw is pretty inclusive. It says any letter, word, symbol, drawing, picture, design, device, article, or object, or whatever material and manner of composition or construction that is displayed on an exterior location is a sign. Having said that, in 210-181A special regulations, it says that in developments approved by the planning board pursuant to, and then there's a whole list that concludes with Article 26, Open Space Mixed Use Development Overlay District, all signs shall be solely subject to such limitations of size and usage as may be imposed by the planning board. So the planning board has sole discretion as to whether or not to allow this type of thing. So it's not a zoning violation. It's strictly up to your judgment.
Okay, good to know.
I think we can play with it and plant the trees and plan the murals in a way that they are complementary. That's fine.
And one last thing, the recommendation I had, this came out late to John, but the recommendation was without an actual rendering or example, the board should possibly consider making a provision that allows for modification of the permit to allow signage after approval of the designs at a public hearing. So possibly not delay any action you may be considering taking, just condition that he comes back with those murals at a public hearing for approval by the board.
So this will not happen for a while because I will need to do like artist call, and I'll probably do it at some point, not immediately because the work will need to happen after the building is erected, so probably like half a year or something like that.
Okay. Matthew, go ahead.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, just given Tony's last two comments, really, the second one I think is a good suggestion. Basically, having him come back with final mural renderings, just so we can actually verify, approve, if it's our say, approve what's actually going up when it's ready.
Through the chair, my bias is more art the better, but that's just me. I grew up in Woodstock, Illinois, the home of Groundhog Day, and you can Google the massive Groundhog Day mural we have next to our movie theater, and there can be some pretty cool stuff done that's tasteful, and trees be damned. It could be neat, but my bias is more art personally.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the sound mitigation report? That was we received basically just during our last meeting, so I don't think any of us had a chance to read it before last meeting, but didn't know if anyone had any comments or questions about it. Go ahead, Matthew.
Just since you raised it, made some interesting reading. Thank you very much for adding it. I think some of the claims may be probably incorrect in terms of the probabilistic estimates, but I think it helped explain the actual experience, assuming that all the readings are correct, and it definitely helps understand what the impact is to the community with the small number of courts that are actually there. So thank you. Looks good.
All right. unless there's any objections, I'd like to move to try to work our way through, or work through reading all I have to read and get to votes tonight. Is that sound good to everybody?
Go for
Yeah,
it.
is a shed on there at this point?
We're gonna have to add that. Go ahead, John.
Through the chair, just wanted to clarify as to what conditions we still need to add so everyone's on the same page.
So I think we need to add a condition about the 400-foot shed, and I believe we need to add a condition about if murals would like to be added in the future, it doesn't require like really. We don't want to make them go through this whole. We want to make it basically simply to come before the planning board to get approval. We don't want to like reopen the project. I don't know how to phrase that.
All right, as you go through these conditions, I will try and write up conditions for those two things, and then when you get done, I will present one.
So as kind of being new, fairly new at being the chair here, I want to start, I think, with the stormwater management. Read the findings first, vote on the findings, then go to the actual stormwater management permit, and then go through the conditions and get approval for that, and then move to the site plan. Does that make sense to you, John?
I think it's however you want to do it. I don't think one needs to go before the other. We just want to make sure that we read all of this stuff, all the findings and the conditions.
All right. So let me just start with the decision criteria. The planning board shall approve an application for site plan review if it finds that the site plan complies with the master plan special permit. The site plan meets all of the requirements and standards set forth in this article, the master plan special permit, and applicable design guidelines. The convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the development project in relation to adjacent areas and public ways is ensured. Substantial adverse potential impacts of the development project have been adequately mitigated. Adequate mitigation has been provided with respect to any conditions impacting on-site safety, whether such conditions are created on-site or off-site. I don't know if I need to read this, but I will. OSMID design guidelines. The proposed project within the OSMID district is required to follow the design guidelines for the district. We've included the design guidelines document in the shared project folder along with the master plan, special permit, and subsequent amendments.
Rob, are you reading the conditions or the decision criteria?
I just read the decision criteria. Now I want to move to the conditions.
Or the findings?
I actually want to move to the findings.
You don't have to read the decision criteria. You can if you want to, but it's not. That's in the zoning, so everyone's aware of it. But it's definitely helpful to read it, but just for the future reference.
What number is the findings?
2.9.
All right. All right, I'm going to read both the findings for both the site plan. So 2.9.1, major project site plan, OSMID. The proposed major project site plan complies with master plan special permit for Legacy Farms OSMID district. The site plan meets all of the requirements and standards set forth in Article 26, open space mixed use development, the master plan special permit, and applicable design guidelines. The convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the development project in relation to adjacent area and public ways is ensured. Substantial adverse potential impacts of the development project have been adequately mitigated. Adequate mitigation has been provided with respect to any conditions impacting on-site safety, whether such conditions are created on-site or off-site. And the proposed findings. Actually, does anybody have any questions about those findings? So I'm going to now read the findings for the stormwater management permit 2.9.2. The proposed work will comply with the Hopkinton stormwater regulations. So if it's okay with everybody on the board, I'd like to vote on the findings first and then go back to read all the conditions and then vote on the permits themselves. I'd like to entertain a motion that a board accept and approve the findings as previously read aloud for the major project site plan Osmond application.
So
moved. Second.
All right, we're going to go to a roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. Now I'd like to entertain a motion that the board accept and approve the findings as previously read aloud for the stormwater management permit application.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. Roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. So now I'm going to read the conditions in section 2.10. And I'm going to start with the conditions in 2.10.1, which is the conditions for the project, the major project site plan. So there's a lot here. So just bear with me. I'll try to get through this as painless as possible. The Director of Municipal Inspections inspects projects under construction for compliance with the approved decision of site plan review. This includes the driveway, roadway, and infrastructure construction shown on the plan. If applicable, if the Director of Municipal Inspections determines at any time before or during construction that a registered professional engineer or other such outside professional is required to assist with the inspections of the stormwater management system or any other component of the site plan, the applicant shall be responsible for the cost of those inspections. All construction activities shall adhere to applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations regarding noise, vibration, dust, sedimentation, and the use of interference with or blocking of town roads. The applicant shall be responsible for mitigating all construction-related impacts, including erosion, siltation, and dust control. The applicant shall maintain all portions of any public way used for construction access free of soil, mud, or debris deposited due to use by construction vehicles associated with the project, and shall regularly sweep such areas as directed by the Director of Municipal Inspections in consultation with the Director of Public Works Director. The applicant shall regularly remove construction trash and debris from the site in accordance with good construction practice and the construction management plan. No tree stumps, demolition material, trash, or debris shall be burned on site or burned or buried on site. All exterior lighting within the development project, whether shown on the approved site plan or required by the Massachusetts State Building Code, shall be shielded, directed downward and not upward or outward, and shall not spill onto adjacent property. The applicant has stated that they will utilize a combination of motion sensors, photocells, or timers to control the duration of nighttime illumination on site in conformance with the zoning bylaw. All fixed mechanical equipment on the site shall be screened from view from the ground. Such screening will be sufficient in the opinion of the Director of Municipal Inspections. If construction has not commenced within 3 years of the date of filing of the site plan decision with the town clerk, approval shall be automatically rescinded unless such time is extended by the board. For the purposes of this condition, the term commenced shall mean the commencement of site work. Construction may occur only between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and Saturdays between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. pursuant to Chapter 141, Article 1 of the Town of Hopkinton General Bylaws. The applicant shall submit final as-built plans to the planning board prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy.
The applicant developer shall provide the principal planner with a project point of contact and contact information prior to the issuance of building permit. This point of contact information will be kept current through correspondence to the principal planner until the final certificate of occupancy is issued or construction is otherwise considered complete. A completed signed construction management plan shall be submitted to the planning board prior to the commencement of any site work. The applicant shall also submit a revised full plan set, which incorporates all of the modifications made during the public hearing process and any required in this decision. As completed, signed long-term operation and maintenance plans shall be submitted to the planning board prior to the commencement of construction. This can be combined with a construction management plan if preferred by the applicant. A signed illicit discharge statement shall be provided to the planning board prior to construction. Erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be implemented during the construction period in accordance with the approved site plan and the construction management plan. If they are found to be inadequate, the applicant shall immediately correct any deficiencies. The planning board shall receive a sign-off confirming that the site contractor and any major subcontractors have received the construction management plan prior to the commencement of any site work. The applicant shall submit revised plans to the principal planner depicting the revisions as recommended by the town's peer review consultant, Watson and Sampson, as detailed in the letter dated June 14th, 2024. These revised plans will be submitted to the principal planner prior to the commencement of site work. These revisions shall include, but are not limited to, increase the natural buffer to the property line in the vicinity of the southwest corner of the property to 50 feet prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Showing the existing tree line to remain prior to the commencement of site work, indication of proposed compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, for the EVSE parking spaces, depiction of sight lines to the west of the site, a reduction in light fixtures height on site from 15 feet to 12 feet in compliance with the zoning bylaw, proposed lighting for outdoor courts in conformance with the zoning bylaw, adding a vehicle template to the truck turning plan or swept path analysis to confirm that the site layout will be able to accommodate town emergency vehicles, or alternatively, the applicant may provide documentation of review and approval by the Hopkins Fire Department. Labeling of mechanical equipment depicted on the plans, revision of the Cape Cod berm, detailed to more accurately state the intended curb height, identification of catch basin structures requiring a flat top, identification of additional spot grades in the area of the driveway at the southeast corner of the proposed building, revision of the sewer service location, inclusion of a fire department connection in the area of the northeast side of the proposed building. John, do we want to add something here or just go at the very end?
Yeah, so did you just read
16?
Okay.
Yeah, 16M, I just finished.
All right, so I've got an extra one for N. The location of the proposed plus or minus 400 square foot shed such that it conforms to zoning requirements relative to setbacks. So that means that they have to, inclusive of that list, they have to submit plans that show that shed conforming with zoning, specifically with setbacks. That make sense?
Yes. So item N on this would be as read by the principal planner. Does anyone have any? Let me get through this. If we need to modify that, I think we can. But the applicant, so item 17, the applicant shall submit a copy of the recorded utility easement for the offsite water connection to the principal planner prior to the issuance of a building permit. The applicant shall submit a copy of the recorded utility easement for sewer manhole SMH2 installation for the abutting property to the south to the principal planner prior to the issuance of a building permit. The applicant shall implement the 4 sound mitigation recommendations as set forth in the report entitled Analysis of Pickleball and Paddle Noise at Open Play, Hopkins and Mass, prepared by PSM Consulting, dated March 31st, 2024. The applicant shall submit to the principal planner a revised long-term operation and maintenance plan that includes a figure showing the location of BMP maintenance access areas prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. And this is where I think we want to add item 21.
Yeah, so through the chair, I have a proposed condition.
Okay.
The planning board supports the intent of the applicant in installing a mural, parentheses S, so potentially multiple murals, on the facade of the building. As no design for this proposed mural, parentheses S, was presented, the applicant shall submit proposed designs for approval by the planning board prior to installation. Approval of this design shall be considered a de minimis modification of the site plan. If approved, the planning board shall issue a letter to the applicant stating such.
Okay, so item 20, that will be item 20, 21. Go, wait 1 second. That will be item 21. Go ahead, Yevgeny. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the word facade, because the design review board, and my intention as well, is not only to have a mural on that side of the building, but let's say on the opposite side of the building, potentially on the east side of the building facing the retirement community. Like I would like to have an opportunity like to create something like really beautiful if I can. Not only kind of a like specific spot on the front, because on the front actually it's going to be less visible to people because it will be obstructed by other set of trees that is near the road, and also it will be obstructed by the retaining wall there and by the fence, 10-foot fence that is going to be erected with the sound mitigation. So if possible, I would like to not limit it only to facade of the building.
So through the chair, modification of just putting in the first sentence, planning board supports the intent of the applicant in installing a mural parentheses S on the facade parentheses S. So multiple facades. You can do it the front or the side or rear.
That works. That works for me. So I'd like to entertain a motion. Bear with me 1 second. I'd like to entertain a motion that the board approve the major project site plan, Osmed, with the following conditions that were just read aloud by the chair.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks. We're going to move to a roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. All right, we're working our way through it here. Now I need to read the conditions for the stormwater management permit. So I'm going to go start at section 2.10.2 for people following along. All right, let me catch my breath for a second. All right, all erosion and sediment controls shall comply with the following performance criteria: minimize total area of disturbance and protect natural features and soil. Sequence activities to minimize simultaneous areas of disturbance. Mass clearings and grading of the entire site shall be avoided. Minimize peak rate of runoff in accordance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards. Minimize soil erosion and control sedimentation during construction, provided that prevention of erosion is preferred over sedimentation control. Divert uncontaminated water around disturbed areas. Maximize groundwater recharge. Install and maintain all erosion and sediment control measures in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications and good engineering practices. Prevent off-site transport of sediment. Protect and manage on and off-site material storage areas. Overburden and stockpiles of dirt, borrow areas, or other areas used solely by the permitted project are considered a part of the project. Comply with the applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, including waste disposal, sanitary sewer or septic system regulations, and air quality requirements, including dust control. Prevent significant alteration of habitats mapped by the Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program as endangered. Threaten or of special concern estimated habitats of rare wildlife and certified vernal pools, and priority habitats of rare species from the proposed activities. Institute interim and permanent stabilization measures shall be instituted on a disturbed area as soon as practicable, but no more than 14 days after construction activity has temporarily or permanently ceased on that portion of the site. Properly manage on-site construction and waste materials.
prevent off-site vehicle tracking of sediments. Dust shall be controlled at the site. Divert off-site runoff from highly erodible soils and steep slopes to stable areas. The project shall comply with the following erosion and sediment control requirements. So this is section 2.a. Prior to any land disturbance activities commencing on the site, the developer shall physically mark limits of no land disturbance on the site with tape, signs, or orange construction fence so that the workers can see the areas to be protected. The physical marker shall remain in place until a certificate of completion has been issued. Appropriate erosion and sediment control measures shall be installed prior to soil disturbance. Measures shall be taken to control erosion within the project area. Sediment and runoff water shall be trapped and retained within the project area. Wetland areas and surface waters shall be protected from sediment. Sediment shall be removed once the volume reaches a quarter to half the height of a hay bale. Sediment shall be removed from the silt fence prior to reaching the load-bearing capacity of the silt fence, which may be lower than a half to a quarter of the height. Sediment from sediment traps or sedimentation ponds shall be removed when design capacity has been reduced by 50%. Soil stockpiles must be stabilized or covered at the end of each workday. Stockpile side slopes shall not be greater than 2:1. All stockpiles shall be surrounded by sediment controls. Disturbed areas remaining idle for more than 14 days shall be stabilized with seeding, wood chips, bark mulch, tarpaulins, or any other approved methods. For active construction areas such as borrow or stockpile areas, roadway improvements, and areas within 50 feet of a building under construction, a perimeter sediment control system shall be installed and maintained to contain soil. A tracking pad or other approved stabilization method shall be constructed at all entrance-exit points of the site to reduce the amount of soil carried onto roadways and off the site. East Main Street in the vicinity of the project shall be swept as needed throughout the construction process. Permanent seeding shall be undertaken in the spring from March through May and in late summer and early fall from August to October 15th. During the peak summer months in the fall after October 15, when seeding is found to be impractical, appropriate temporary stabilization shall be applied. Permanent seeding may be undertaken during the summer if plans provide for adequate mulching and watering. All slopes steeper than 3:1, H:V 33.3%, as well as perimeter dikes, sediment basins, or traps, and embankments must, upon completion, be immediately stabilized with sod, seed, and anchored straw mulch or other approved stabilization measures. Areas outside of the perimeter sediment control system must not be disturbed. Temporary sediment trapping devices shall not be removed until permanent stabilization is established in all contributory drainage areas. All temporary erosion and sediment control measures shall be removed after final site stabilization. Disturbed soil areas resulting from the removal of temporary measures shall be permanently stabilized within 30 days of removal. A minimum of 7 days prior to the start of construction, a detailed construction sequence shall be submitted to the principal planner by the site contractor for review and approval. The approved construction sequence shall be followed throughout the course of the construction and shall be altered only with prior review by and written approval from the principal planner. A signed copy of the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, SWPPP, shall be provided to the board prior to the building permit. Per 6.0.K.2, the SWPPP must include the signed notice of intent and approval letter. All required stormwater pollution prevention plans, stormwater construction site inspection reports shall be submitted to the principal planner within 14 days of each inspection. An adequate stockpile of erosion control measures shall be on site at all times for emergency or routine replacement and shall include materials to repair or replace silt fences, hay bales, stone filters, berms, or any other devices planned for use during construction. Soil testing and excavation of the site stormwater basins must be observed by the board's engineer prior to laying loam and seed. The applicant developer shall notify the principal planner at least 48 hours, weekends and holidays excluded, prior to the soil testing and or excavation to allow for adequate time to coordinate these observations. All stormwater basins must be cleaned once the site is stabilized. All stormwater basins shall be cleaned prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. The applicant shall provide the principal planner with documentation showing compliance with sections 4 and 17E of Appendix B, sections 2.D, 2.E, 3A, 3.C of Appendix C, sections 2 and 3.F of Appendix D, and the notes from sections 2.C through F, 2.H, and 2.K of Appendix F of the Town of Hopkins stormwater regulations prior to issuance of a building permit. All right. So I'd like to entertain a motion that the board approve the stormwater management permit with the following conditions as they were previously read aloud by the chair.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Going to a roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. Okay. So now I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing for Zero East Main Street, major site plan and stormwater management.
Through the chair, before you do that,
Okay.
I just want to make sure. So we voted on the conditions and we
Yep.
voted on findings. Did you vote on approval? So usually the approval is you vote on the approval of the permit with the conditions. And I don't know if that language was covered. So I think if we're voting on the findings separately and you voted on the conditions separately, you should at least
We did.
You should at least do a motion to vote to approve both the stormwater management permit and the site plan with the findings and conditions that were previously approved.
Okay.
Just to
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the stormwater management permit for Zero East Main Street with the findings previously read aloud and the conditions that were previously read aloud by the chair.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. So we need to do the same thing for the stormwater management permit.
That was
I'd like to
stormwater, wasn't it?
entertain.
Correct. That was yes, that was a stormwater management permit. Now you got to do it for the site plan.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the major project site plan permit for Zero East Main Street, the pickleball club, with the conditions and findings that were previously read aloud by the chair.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is a yes. So, John, I think we're ready to close the public hearing. What do you think?
Yes, I believe so. So yeah, you've taken a vote on the findings and the approval. So now you can vote to close the public hearing. So it's been officially approved.
I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing for the major project site plan and stormwater management permit at Zero East Main Street Pickleball Club.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronca,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is yes. All right. Thanks, Evgeny. Good luck.
Thanks, everybody.
Before you have jumps off through the chair, we extended the deadline to July 10th. So I'll be in the office tomorrow and try and draft something up, but I doubt we're going to get any signature or maybe even finish it by Wednesday, which town hall is closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we will do our best to get this done at the beginning of next week.
Thank
Okay.
you, John.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Thank
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for support. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you. All right. Does anybody? So on our agenda, we don't typically look at the zoning board of appeals notices. Does anyone have any questions about our next meetings?
No.
All right. If
So Rob,
nobody
actually, I've got one comment, I guess. Try and keep it brief because I think everybody's exhausted with all the conditions findings. On June 3rd, you asked for us to think tactically about the MBTA zoning. We spent time talking about the parcels. I don't think we ever talked about any of the other concerns and how we might want to address those. I was just wondering, especially if we're having some late meetings, whether it makes sense to talk tactically and strategically about what other information we want to focus on as a board as we think about how do we present whatever we're presenting again at special town meeting.
I think for us, we need to put it on the agenda so people we can
For
notice
sure.
people.
I'm
that
not
we're
trying to
gonna-
deliberate now. I was surprised we weren't continuing to talk about it. So I was wondering if we're going to put it on a future agenda.
Let's put it on our agenda to basically just kind of discuss what's the right way to put this? Discuss
Next steps.
like our immediate next step was kind of give some recommendation back to the zoning advisory committee, but we want further discussion. That's all. I think we can just put it on further discussion of MB. Just as a board, we want to continue to have it on as an agenda item because we want to be able to talk about it if we want to talk about it. So we'll put it on the agenda for our next meeting as like MBTA community discussion, open discussion of like a path forward. That's it. And I think that covers our bases. All right. With that being said, I think I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Last roll call vote of the night. Elise Mayalowski,
Yes.
Lucia Lopez,
Yes.
Matthew Ronka,
Yes.
Michael King,
Yes.
Parker Happ,
Yes.
Jane Moran,
Yes.
Vikasath Prati,
Yes.
and Rob Benson is yes. All right, guys. Have a good 4th of July weekend. I hope everyone goes to some barbecues and cookouts, has a good time. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you, you
everybody.
too. Good night.
Cheers, everyone.
Night.
Bye, everybody.